This is what inspired me to make better skincare. As I was learning these processes, I was like, okay, how do I use some of these elixirs, these spagyrics within our products? And sometimes they can take a month to make, sometimes they can take 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
I have my
Okay.
teachers have some that have been going, I think, for 7 to 10 years. So it just depends on, again, the level of medicine you're trying to create. And again, how involved you want to be with it, because it really is about elevating yourself and being present with something a little bit more.
How can we have clear, youthful skin without the use of harmful chemicals in our skincare? How can we get more connected to our natural world through our skincare? These questions are what we are diving into today with the podcast episode with Lauren Dodge. Lauren is the Formulator founder and co-owner at Fruits to the Roots, a natural skincare company. Lauren explores intention, herbal medicine, the influence of planetary archetypes, and spiritual balance through skincare formulation, as well as ritual offerings such as soundbathing and tea ceremony experiences. We recently had the pleasure of hosting Lauren and her husband Brian, who led us through a soundbathing and tea ceremony, and that was really incredible. We're excited to offer you this podcast episode hosted by Christine, the practice administrator at Capital Integrative Health, with a unique view of integrative health as an herbalist and yogi herself. Please enjoy this conversation with Christine and Lauren as they discuss natural skincare and how Lauren's unique approach can help you to clear your skin and age gracefully.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Christine.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Me too.
Why don't we start off with you telling us who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Lauren Dodge. Hi.
Hi.
I am a skincare formulator. I am a facilitator for sound bath meditations. I also white label. I create white label skincare products for various companies.
What does that mean exactly?
That means they get to buy my products and put their information on them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that is another thing that I do, and that kind of is an offshoot of, obviously, of Fruits to the Roots, my business Fruits to the Roots.
Love that name.
Thank you. When my husband and I were trying to determine how to name our business, it just sort of flowed out.
Did it?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to have a tree as our logo, and he's an artist, so I'm really lucky. He, within like a week, created this really beautiful tree that if you see our logo, immediately you see the tree. It's the roots below, the stems and the fruit above. But what makes it even more special, and what I didn't see for about 30 seconds as I was looking at it, is there's a woman's form hidden within the tree.
Oh, I'll have to look again. That's so cool. Thanks for that tip.
Yeah. There's also a little bird. And as he was drawing it, the only thing I said is I want a tree and I want a bird, and the tree has to have fruit, and the roots need to be nearly as big as the canopy above it.
Right.
And the name just sort of happened when we saw the logo together.
Oh, that's so great. And you did it together. That's even better. Right?
Yeah. He is definitely a huge part of the business. We started it in 2011 together, and it sort of came out of many circumstances that I was going through at the time. I wasn't feeling very well. I had always struggled with my skin. I had all of these passions I was pursuing, but nothing seemed to really fit. And I had started making soap. He got me for Valentine's Day, he got me a cold process soap making class.
So great.
I had been so nervous to go through the steps of actually learning how to make cold processed soap on my own. And this class, I came home and I made, I think it was 30 or 40 pounds of soap in that same day that I took the class.
Because you were so excited.
I was so excited. And I started giving them to people. And every person that tried our soap, my soap at the time, was responding with, how can I get more of this? I want to buy some. And it was at the time something that I was playing with, but not sure I really knew what I was doing yet.
Yeah.
And everything, we were in Los Angeles at the time, and it's, as I'm sure you're aware, like skincare is very competitive. So my edge then was, how do I make this medicinal? How do I create medicinal soaps where people are getting sort of microdosed every day with little bits of skincare healing and intention through bathing? And it sort of became very clear that I needed to do this all of a sudden. People were coming back saying, my skin's never felt like this. I use a lot of good soap, but it's never really responded quite this way. And it was this aha sort of magical moment.
You found your thing, right?
Yeah,
You found it.
I found my thing. Yeah. And, you know, he and I both had studied herbal medicine and various forms of natural healing and worked with various teachers, but all of that information all of a sudden fit into where I could see my future going. And yeah, so he's been an enormous part. He's been an enormous part from the beginning.
That's so great. I love that you're using herbal medicine to help people in that way, you know, in a way that is often overlooked. Like, you know, just get in the bath and here's my soap, and you know.
People often will smell something and they'll realize, oh, this is going to be good for me. I'm going to take this home. But what they maybe aren't fully aware of until a little bit later is, I believe plants speak to us. And say it.
Me too.
Yeah. Scream it from the rooftops.
Yes.
I really do believe plants speak to us, and it happens in so many different ways every single day. Walking outside of your house, maybe a tree brushes against you, and how does that make you feel? Oh, I'm sorry, tree. I will talk to everything. Excuse me. Pardon me. But someone smelling a bar of soap or a skincare product out, immediately the aroma is what is going to start talking to them. And in the various forms of herbal medicine, aromatherapy, alchemy that I've studied, that aroma it comes from the essential oils. But to me, that is sort of the spirit of the plant.
Yeah.
So it's immediately trying to connect with you in a really special way.
Yeah, it resonates.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to have resonates, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know you just said a lot about this, but for our audience, can you describe a little bit about how your skincare products, and we'll get into how you formulate them later, but how is something that you would create different from what we might find in a drugstore or even a department store?
That's a great question. I hope in a lot of ways.
Me too. Me too, yeah.
When I first started making skincare, the sort of biggest difference was how small batch everything was, how thoughtful the sort of herbal components were going into it. And a big part of my background and my husband's background is in alchemy. And for people, the listeners that are like, alchemy, what does she mean?
Yeah, can you explain what that is?
Sure. We have teachers in Oregon that we've been working with. He's been working with since about 2008, I think, and I've been working with them since about 2009. And they have an alchemy school there. They used to. Now they just practice their work. And it is basically alchemy can be defined in a lot of ways. The truest form of alchemy is taking something and transforming it into something else. We can do that with ourselves. We can alchemize ourselves. We can alchemize our breakfast cereal by adding superfoods to it, or, you know, sitting with it and being present in a moment of intention, really. Those little things, as silly as they sound, as maybe woo as they sound.
They sound lovely.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They make you more present with what you're doing. And really, it's about presence. When we started going to this alchemy school, it was really we were drawn to it specifically because they were using alchemical techniques that are centuries and, decades and
Fascinating.
very old things that they had either learned from some of their teachers or experimented with through various texts that they'd read, that they'd studied, and they were teaching it to us. But they were also applying these alchemical techniques that are usually done on minerals and metals to plants. And that is where we were like, oh, we need to know more about this. It's called spagyrics.
I have heard of this with the sage apapum, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway,
I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Spagyrics, I'm going to do this horribly. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're here to learn.
Spagyrics are, that word literally translates to separate and recombine. Spagyric in the Latin form as you sort of pull it apart. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that as you are creating this medicine with a plant, you are separating it body, spirit, and soul, and you are elevating each individual level and then recombining them together so that it is more easily absorbed by the user, but also the alchemy behind this, beyond just the technique that we use, is that every bit of work that you're doing with this plant, it's working with you. So as you work with it, it works with you. As you're working on this distillation,
I was going to ask, that's how you're doing it, through distillation? Yeah,
there's a distillation component, and we use glass and really low heat to maintain as much of the integrity and intelligence of the plant and the plant body. And then once you have, it's more complex than this, but I'll just tell you quickly, distilling the plant matter over, you're using a kind of menstruum, which is water, alcohol, water, alcohol, vinegar, sometimes other things. As you distill it over the plant body that's left, you then also elevate through a series of calcinations to get the actual minerals and salts of the plant.
This is really involved. Yeah. And I asked, how are you different from drugstore?
We don't do this with every single product, just to be clear, but this is what inspired me to make better skincare. As I was learning these processes, I was like, okay, how do I use some of these elixirs, these spagyrics within our products? And sometimes they can take a month to make, sometimes they can take 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
My teachers have some that have been going, I think, for 7 to 10 years. So it just depends on, again, the level of medicine you're trying to create. And again, how involved you want to be with it, because it really is about elevating yourself and being present with something a little bit more.
That was a very unexpected but really interesting answer, Lauren.
A little esoteric.
No, it's great. It's great. I mean, that's what we want to do, dig in and find out what you're doing and how are you different, what sets you apart. I know when I was thinking about you coming to do the podcast, I was thinking about, I always say this, don't put it on your skin if you can't eat it, you know? I have chemical sensitivity, like I think probably a lot of our audience may, or I know some of them at least, probably experience. So I trust your stuff, you know? And now that I know a little bit more about this process, I'm like, wow, no wonder it's magic.
Well, and again, to be very clear, that is not something that's done with every product. Yeah. It really, and a lot of the spagyrics that I'm using in our skincare, I leave it to my teachers. So I trust them so much. They're able to really, really work with those extracts in a way that I don't have time, because I'm from 7 a.m. in the morning until 4 or 5 at night working on formulating, making, selling. Like, it's just me.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Just you.
So I don't want to, understanding the process, I think, is just as important as doing it yourself sometimes, so that you can be very cautious and, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of intentional about where you get it, if you're not the one producing it. So there's a lot of education.
How do you decide what to make? Like, what is your process for coming up with something new, like a new product or a new formula?
It varies. Sometimes I have people reaching out to me that have been longtime customers, and they're like, "So when are you going to do this?" And that was one thing with the vitamin C serum. Someone actually came to me and they were like, "Why haven't you made a vitamin C serum?" And I was like, "Well, that's a process."
That sounds really involved.
It is involved. And for something like that, unfortunately, the sad answer with vitamin C ingredients is that that is not something I can produce. I actually have to trust a lab to create and synthesize that so that it stays shelf stable, so that it's not light sensitive, so that it won't go bad sitting in a bottle.
Where do you begin with that?
With sourcing, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, how do you say, "Oh, I need vitamin C"? I mean, where do you go for that? What do you do?
There are cosmetic labs
Okay.
that you can get ingredients from, and it's going to vary in quality as far as the lab goes, what you're going to get. I went through testing out maybe 5 or 6 different forms of vitamin C on my own from various labs before I could even pursue working with one. And again, that's sort of, it's a little more tedious than just making a formula and hoping it works. There's microbial testing, there's shelf stability testing, and all of that is something I really care a lot about.
Yeah, because I know in your products there are no artificial ingredients, right? Or there maybe is.
So no, there's not artificial ingredients, but there are a few
Preservatives, something.
There are preservatives.
Yeah, I saw one time because I was ordering something and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's something in here I don't recognize."
Yes.
And I thought, I wonder if you found out that it needed to be more shelf stable as your business was growing and things are sitting on a shelf while you're waiting for, you want to be ready for your customers, right? I don't know what the process was, but that's what I imagined in my own mind anyway.
Well, as you're growing as a skincare business, or at least for me, this was my journey, there are many things that I was willing to start working with right away that I felt very comfortable with. And so anything that does not have water in it is going to be a lot more shelf stable, no matter how a person is using it, unless it's a jar that's something oil-based that they're sticking their wet hand into,
Right.
introducing a possible, issue. But with serums, that's where I started a lot of the skincare formulations because like the Venus serum and the Moon serum, both of those are completely oil-based. And they don't require a preservative. They do require antioxidants like vitamin E or plant-based ingredients that contain a lot of antioxidants.
I love the Moon serum. Just have to say so.
And that actually has asparaginic in it.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, it has our oil of egg spageric in there.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That is, I just went with it. When I saw it, I was like, oil of egg. I trust her. Okay, I'm doing it.
So that's an ingredient that I trust with my teachers. They make it once a year on a very special full moon, and it is with eggs that are very well taken care of. So I trust them with it. And yes, I know that there's a lot of listeners probably right now that are like going, "Well, I'm a vegan," and
we should address that.
Yeah,
what do you have to say about that?
I think to each his own. I tend to always think about that when I'm formulating something because I would like more people to be able to be excited about using it, not just people that are, one thing I do have to say, though, is that I'm very particular about any sort of beeswax, honey, bee pollen, the oil of egg. Those, I think, are the only non-vegan ingredients we work with. And it's because they're so much more powerful than some of the alternatives. The oil of egg is so special. You can put like a little drop of that spageric on your skin if you've got like a cut or something, and it seems to almost go away overnight.
Oh, that's good to know.
So it's so refreshing for the skin. It really helps with that sort of natural healing. And it's just it's It's a really cool ingredient.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I love the moon serum. And when I saw that it had oil of egg, I was like, okay, I trust her. So.
Yeah. But just to revisit your question again, just
Yeah.
for a minute, when I'm formulating something, I like to think about the audience, you guys. I like to think about what I don't have in the product line because I don't want to confuse people by overlapping too much.
Yeah. There's
a lot of skincare companies that have so many products that it's hard to figure out which one is for you. And I'm even getting to a point where I'm going, oh geez, how do I continue to grow this line without confusing people? And I've come up with create content. That's what I've come up with. So I'm working on it. But it starts with who wants to talk to me. When I go and I look at the plants that I have either growing in my garden, that I've dried from previous garden harvests, that I've purchased from trusted sources, the plants a lot of times are like, well, I'm interested in being in a product.
Oh, that's so great. Because I was going to ask you, like, how does herbal medicine connect in your skincare? And I love that it's intuitive for you like that.
And that's how I fell in love with herbal medicine. It felt intuitive. It felt beyond something that was just reading out of a book or learning from teachers, learning in workshops. It oozed out of me almost, or into me, however. That's another thing that's a big part of what we do. I believe that every plant wants to sort of share a moment of reflection with you. So another way that makes our skincare very different is it is very ritual oriented. I want you to be present with your unique beauty as you are sitting there applying your toner, feeling, smelling, sort of creating that moment of zen for yourself. And as you're massaging in your serum, really feeling your muscular structure beneath your skin. How does the aroma make you feel in that moment? And it becomes a sensory experience that is unlike a lot of other moments in life, I feel like.
Yeah, taking the time. I love when I'm using your products. Not only they smell divine, just letting you guys know. They smell so divine. I do feel like there's some connectivity there, to the plants and to you. I feel like that it's whoever made this. I mean, even though the fact that, I obviously know you, but whoever, you look at this small crafted thing and you think, wow, someone really put a lot of love into this. So you can't help but, I think, just appreciate it as it's transferred from you to the jar to the next person,
Well, and again, that's alchemy. That's you're distilling it down basically right now. You're talking about how, yes, intention is important in everything I do. And I love sort of projecting where the product will end up as I'm making it as well. Sometimes I was talking to a friend recently and she said something to me and she was like, sometimes I don't know why I want to do this. And I'm like, well, is it a plant? And she's like, no, it's almost like I'm hearing the person that's going to end up with this thing.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And when she said that, I just was like, she makes amazing perfume. And she was just like, I feel like I can see and sense the wearer. And I was like, yes, that is exactly sort of the way that I have been able to experience but not articulate some of when it's not a plant talking to me, what is it? That's what it felt like. It felt like she broke something open in my head, and I was like, yes, that's what I'm feeling, maybe.
That's what you're feeling, that you're the people waiting for your magic. Yeah, so that was my next question. How do you choose the plants? But it doesn't seem like you do. They choose you.
They choose the product. They don't even choose me. Yes, we have a cohesive relationship and there's a symbiosis there, which I'm so lucky. I started working with plants and herbal medicine. Honestly, if I really give you I grew up in a family of gardeners. So my mother is just an incredible gardener. My grandmother, my aunts, They're all so good, and I'm getting better, but I don't have just the natural instinct of gardening, which has always frustrated me. But what I'm realizing as I think back on being a little girl and wandering around my grandmother's garden, and she's introducing me to these different flowers, that is how I work with plants. That is how I work with my ingredients, is they're introducing themselves to me, and they're saying, you know, maybe this is a time for me to, pop into one of your products. So it's a really, it sounds so, it is special. It is very
Yeah.
special.
I'm wondering, for our audience who may not know, why is it better to use a product like yours as opposed to something that may have chemicals,
Yeah.
something that doesn't really grow naturally?
So there's a lot of reasons. One of the bigger ones is that typically if you're going to be going to a drugstore or even a department store to buy your cosmetics online, those products are formulated with such strong preservatives that they can sit in a warehouse that's not conditioned, that isn't, taken, the temperature is not taken into account. Time is not taken into account in the same way. When someone is manufacturing those products or formulating those products in a lab, they're going, how long can I make this last? And how long will it be good for?
And why would that be bad for us?
Because that means they might be sitting in a 102-degree warehouse somewhere for 3 years before it ever gets to where you can actually buy it.
So at that point, if there ever was anything alive or helpful for our skin, it's probably not at that point. I don't know.
I don't know. I have mixed thoughts on that, just because, yes, I do think that there's definitely going to be less of just as there would be with mine. If they sit for 6 months before I send them to you, they would be less alive. But that's why I make them in small batches still. With something like that, I don't actually have a good answer. But that is a big reason why I would say stay away, because you don't know how long ago it was made. On top of that, any sort of chemical, because we are organic beings, we are natural creatures. Anytime you're working with natural skincare, it is almost a refamiliarity. It's almost a reintroduction to something that your skin just organically can understand.
It recognizes.
It recognizes, exactly. And with chemical ingredients, I feel like there is a disconnect in that process. I also feel like, as potent and as intense as something can be in chemical form, it's not always the gentlest form. I think a lot of times people are like, I need something now. I need something to work right this second. And natural skincare is going to take a little bit longer.
That's good that you said that. I was wondering.
Yes.
So consistency maybe is key then?
Consistency is key. Sort of reforming a relationship with skincare as well, because I remember being a teenager when I first started learning about natural skincare. My husband's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to talk about him all day.
Let's talk about him. What's his name?
His name is Brian.
Okay, Brian. All right.
I had horrible skincare when we first met. I had horrible skin when we first met. And I still don't have perfect skin, but my skin is so much better. I had cystic acne when we first met, so bad that I was just caking on makeup. Oh. And I didn't know how to care for my skin. My mom showed me what she did growing up, and that was fine for her, but it didn't work for me. I had a lot of friends that were using a lot of steps, and it just felt so useless. And like, I don't want to buy 5 products to do this to my skin. He found me an Ayurvedic serum when shortly after we'd met, and he was like, maybe you should try something like this. Have you ever tried something natural and, medicinal for your skin? And I was like, no, I just don't understand how something like that could work. And this was when I was 19. So I'm not 19 anymore. I've had many, many years of working in this practice, but it it started changing my skin within just a few days. And I had never experienced something like that. So I started taking the ingredients in that serum, which I can tell you what they were.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Grapeseed oil, ylang ylang essential oil, sweet orange oil, licorice root, and there's one other one. Tea tree.
Tea tree,
And
okay.
tea tree. And I think that maybe there was some evening primrose oil in there as well. And for those of you that know my skincare, yes, this did inspire a product. It inspired Venus Serum. So this, as I was learning about this Ayurvedic oil, I was breaking it down. Why do these different ingredients work for my skin? Researching, reading, talking to anyone that could talk to me about these different ingredients for skin specifically was really eye-opening. But then there came a point where I was like, oh, dang, I really want to make something like this. What do I do? So then I started just trying to mimic what I had tried. And I'm not telling anyone to go buy a product and deconstruct it and make it themselves. But if a product teaches you something, that is a way to like learn a whole nother layer.
A pathway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And over many years, I started adding different ingredients that I was falling in love with to the serum that I was making. And then eventually I added, jojoba oil. And that shifted it completely again. And I added rosehip oil, and that shifted it completely again. And learning these different sort of differences in how the serum worked just with that little shift, again, taught me a whole new level about my skin, but also I had started sharing it at this point with a few people. And I was realizing, oh, this one serum can't work for everyone. And that was pretty cool because it was like, okay, on to the next one. Yeah. How do I do this again, but start from scratch? Yeah, and well, and at that point, it was like 7 years later, and I had already learned so much on my own. From my teachers, I'd started learning about different herbs, and I didn't even have to like look into the world to be inspired by something. I just had to look within. I had to sort of sit with myself, listen to the people that were trying this product and like what they were craving that they weren't getting from it. And if they weren't trying it, what were they using that they weren't getting what they wanted out of it? So it's a lot about listening.
Yeah.
What I do is a lot about listening.
I love the passion and the intimacy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you truly have found your passion, and you can tell it shines through. What should we be doing with our skin? Like, what steps should we be following? You know, should we be doing the cleanser and the toner and the moisturizer and the serum and the eye cream and the neck cream and the crepey cream and, you know, like, what should we be doing?
I think it's going to vary depending on the person. I don't want to tell everyone that they have just one way. I think it's really about finding a balance and what works for you. So again, I'm complicating the answer, but that's okay.
No, that's what you're here for. You're here to learn.
The sort of like big, this is going to work for most people, is once or twice a day. At least once or, not at least, but once or twice a day. Cleansing your skin.
We have to do it in the morning and at night.
Well, if you're wearing, yes, I mean, okay. Okay. So truth here.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
telling
have
you the
it.
truth. I typically wash my skin once a day.
Okay.
And it's usually at night.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason for that is that I feel a little grimy. I feel a little this. If I've worn makeup, I rarely do now.
You don't need to.
Thank you. But it's taken a long time to feel so good. And that is actually what's inspired me to keep going with this, is that as I've felt better and I've seen other people felt better in their skin, it doesn't matter if they still feel like they want to wear makeup. Maybe they don't feel like they have to. Mm-hmm. And just seeing people light up and feel uniquely appreciated in their skin is just, it gives me such good shivers.
Sure, that's so rewarding.
Yeah. by cleansing your skin at least once a day and not over cleansing. Over
What does
cleansing.
that mean? So do we use the foaming, or what do we use? It just depends again on the skin type.
It can depend on the skin type. I also will tell you that there's a lot of skincare cleansers out there that are not balanced to the skin's pH. And that is a super fancy way of saying the skin naturally has an acidic nature. And if it is not being balanced by what you're putting on it, how you're cleansing it, you're going to end up with issues. Again, it's all about balance. Angry skin. Have you ever tried using a cleanser and right afterwards your skin is like,
Yes, yes, it's or tight.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, I need
Yes.
something
Yes.
to
So
get some moisture in.
typically, if your skin's reacting that way, it may not be the right product for you. It could just be like, that's the answer. It could also be that that particular product is not great as far as its pH balance goes. The skin has a natural pH balance of 5.5 usually. We all can range between I think it can sometimes be as low as 4.
That's pretty acidic.
Yeah. So I would say balanced skin is right around the 5.5. So it's right in the middle. And that's a happy place. Most of my cleansers are going to be balanced in a way that it is not going to feel that super tight afterwards.
So if it's balanced, then it doesn't matter if it's a foamy thing or a jelly thing.
I think it comes down to what you like.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah.
Just as long as it's balanced.
As long as it's balanced and as long as it feels good for you and you're not reacting negatively to it, that I know that I'm giving these little things.
This is great information.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we need the toner? Do we need that?
Yes.
We do need
Do
that.
not skip your toner.
Okay. Why do we need the toner?
So what a toner is going to do, this is the first thing that I learned about a toner, is that it's going to save you money on your serums and your moisturizers.
Because you don't have to use as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's number one. But then I have people saying, well, yeah, but you're making me buy a toner. So am I saving money?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the only reason. I think we're about to find out what the real reason is.
Yes. So toners. Yes, they're going to help you spend less on your serums, your moisturizers, but the bottom line is that a toner is going to help absorb ingredients that want to be absorbed. It's going to help create a barrier to some extent for some of those slower absorbing ingredients. It's going to regulate the product a little bit more that you're putting on next so that you're not just caking in the moisture.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense because I stopped using a toner recently. I ran out. I thought, I don't need that. I'm just going to put my stuff on. But I definitely noticed a difference. It feels different.
Well, it feels different. So depending also on the toner, if you're using something that's witch hazel based, witch hazel is really fantastic at helping reduce redness, which you're not going to have necessarily in a moisturizer or serum. The idea behind each product is different. So the point of a toner is that it's going to help with sort of preparing the skin for moisture. And that may sound silly to someone, but especially because we wear makeup, we work out, we live in environments where we may sweat. The washing of the skin is so important that sometimes the layers that the acid mantle of the skin is super unhappy if you jump straight from a cleanser to a moisturizer or serum.
Okay, makes sense. So it's kind of like the bridge. Okay.
Yes, actually, that is fantastic. That is a really, really good way to think about it, is it bridges between these two very intense sort of moments in our skincare. This is a gentler form of how to regulate the absorption.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then what's next? Can we go straight to a serum, or do we have to use a moisturizer before the serum?
Well, again, it sort of depends, but I would say if you're someone that wants to just do the core, you don't want the extras, I would say you can go to a moisturizer afterwards. If you're someone who needs the support of a serum, serums really are about supporting.
Who would need a serum?
So congested skin, combination skin, acne prone skin, you're going to benefit a lot from a serum. And it sounds counterintuitive because of it being an oil-based thing. I remember going through that in my mind before I understood. And it's like the skin needs that moisture. It needs those oils in order to rebalance itself, to be happy, sort of in that happy state. But not only that, the ingredients that are typically in a serum are stronger concentrates than what you have in a moisturizer. So extracts that you find in a serum are going to be at stronger amounts, where it's working on trying to get to those deeper layers of the skin. It's working on trying to improve cellular turnover. A moisturizer is usually just a moisturizer. There might be some additional extracts in there. My Everlasting cream has some beautiful extracts in it, but it's because I know that there's going to be people that don't want all the steps. So it's mild in comparison to a serum, what you're going to find in a lotion or a cream, at least in my line.
What about aging skin?
Aging skin, graceful aging. The way to age gracefully is really all about how unfortunately, it's about good genes. That's a big part of it. But when also creating healthy habits for yourself, drinking sleep, drinking lots of water, nutrition, absolutely, exercise. For aging skin, for graceful beauty, I would say definitely adding a serum is a good step in a completely different way. So for that sort of congested combination type, the Venus serum that I make is perfect for that. Moon serum would be great. Our solstice serum would be great for the graceful aging. Both of those are working with things that happen with hormones shifting at different points, such as hyperpigmentation, which is when the skin, I have some hyperpigmentation for the first time. And as it started occurring, I was like, do I want to try to get rid of this? I don't know. I'm kind of loving it. Just because I've really tried to embrace my skin. I want people to embrace where they're at with their beauty and their skin. But yes, taking extra steps such as an eye cream, an eye serum.
We have to do it all then.
Well, some people are lucky and they don't.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. But I think for 90% of the population, as we start to age, I hope that as I continue to age, I don't feel the fear that I know that some people do. I think that this is a hard one, actually. This is hard to talk about because I want everyone to feel that it's natural. I don't want them to feel that because you're getting laugh lines, because you're getting smile lines, because you're getting wrinkles around your eyes or around your, on your neck, on your clavicle, wherever these wrinkles, lines are happening, I don't want you to feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, it feels like your products are more about health.
Yeah, well,
healthy skin, not so much. I mean, I know we're all beautiful. Everyone who uses your products, we're all lovely. but I mean, really, it's not about that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think your true spirit is coming through there. You are.
Thanks.
You're healing. Genuine, caring is coming through in that statement.
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I my biggest goal with what I do is I want everyone to feel beautiful no matter who they are, no matter where they are in their life journey, no matter where they are in their journey with their skin. I think it's so often we get caught up in what other people look like, what we're supposed to look like according to media, and what are you supposed to look like? That just doesn't even make sense. How are we supposed to know what we're supposed to look like?
Yeah, it's more about how we feel, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I was going to say, no, I'm not a mental health expert, but I do feel like there is a component of being with your skin that offers some balance when you're able to just appreciate, when you're able to get into those. And that's what makes the ritual component so important. When you're present with your skin, you can sort of it speaks too. You can hear, you can see what's going on a little bit more clearly. And instead of layering and layering and layering and hoping that something works, I feel like I'm working on how do I guide people into that, because I don't want someone to feel like they need to own everything. That's not, I mean, you can if you want to, but it's really about the core. So for someone who is ready, I like the word graceful. I like the word graceful before beauty or graceful aging. Someone ready for that journey or in the middle of that journey, I would say best advice as far as my skincare practices go: cleanse once or twice a day. If you're wearing makeup, definitely you're probably going to need a second time if you're not cleansing at night. Followed by a really beautiful toner that's going to have some added hydration properties to it. So aloe vera, a bit of, I really love working with burdock root in a toner. It helps to bring moisture to the skin. Marshmallow root as well. Watermelon. A lot of those are some of my favorite ingredients just across the board.
Watermelon.
Yes, I have an obsession with watermelon in skincare.
Tell us about it.
It's juicy. I mean, literally, when you cut open a watermelon, it's just like voluptuous and juicy and just beautiful. But I mean, think about, okay, 1 second. Think about a watermelon slice. Think about a watermelon slice. Think about the way that watermelon slice feels the second you bite into it.
Okay, I'm there.
You're there. Mm-hmm. I can't explain it beyond it's juicy. And it's fantastic because I think that a lot of plants and a lot of ingredients speak to us in those ways. And it's so obvious. This is full of moisture. This is full of, and that bright pink color, it means there's tons of nutrients and antioxidants in there. And watermelon contains a lot of vitamins that are going to be helpful for the skin while we are aging. Helpful for anyone, no matter where they are in their journey.
Well, that's a surprise. That's so good.
It feels good, right? To get those surprises. So, carrot, watermelon, pumpkin, all of those things contain a lot of...
They're slimy and, yeah, right. Well, the pumpkin, I'm thinking the inside of the pumpkin.
But the colors, too. The colors. If you just think about the colors, how bright, and that goes back to nutrition. How colorful is the food in front of you? That's probably going to be a pretty nutritious meal. Yeah. So thinking about the colors going into the products is super important. But something with watermelon is really great for aging skin. So we've got a cleanser, we've got a juicy toner, get that moisture. For a serum, I would say definitely going with something like that's going to have a brightening aspect. With age, our skin tends to dull a bit. We don't have that radiance. We don't have that suppleness naturally that we did in our youth. It's possible, but we just don't retain it the same way. The skin naturally doesn't produce new cells as fast as we did in our youth as well. Exactly. The collagen is breaking down. So something that's going to help balance the pigmentation of the skin, brightness in the skin, things like licorice root are fantastic for brightening. I love our Solstice Vitamin C Serum for graceful beauty. It has a really nice bright smell to it. It's lovely and light feeling on the skin, but you also still feel very hydrated when you're using it. And I will say, I feel like you can almost skip a moisturizer if you're using that serum.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, it has such a richness to it, even though it feels light when it's going on the skin because of the vitamin C that we're using in there. And the other ingredients, we're using pomegranate oil, we're using sunflower oil, which has a ton of vitamin E naturally in it. I just feel like you can almost skip a moisturizer if you want to, no matter where you are in your skincare journey. Yeah. So that's a really simple.
We can do that.
Yeah. But I would also say an eye product is probably going to be very helpful. However, again, that vitamin C serum, man, it can be used on, I always screw up this word.
Me
the
too.
Décolletage.
Décolleté or something like that, right?
A décolleté.
It's this part.
Yes. So like your clavicle and chest area.
Yeah, there we go.
It can be used on your neck. It can be, I have a friend that uses it on her breasts to help with stretching. It can be used as specifically just around the mouth and around the eyes if you're not wanting to use it on your whole face. But it is a full face serum. So getting fancy doesn't have to break the bank if you find the right product. Yeah.
Okay. Outside of routine skincare regimens and cleanliness and anti-aging and beauty and just feeling good and healthy about yourself, do you have any products that are helpful for specific conditions like rosacea or eczema? Or have you gotten into that arena?
A little bit. It's more about finding what's already in my existing line that works for that.
I see.
Yeah, instead of creating something I always like people to feel included. I like everyone to feel like, again, what I was saying about the vitamin C serum, I like people to feel like something will work for multiple things. Simplicity, a lot of times, is really beautiful in skincare. We get carried away. And within sort of my core product line, I would say, yes, there are ingredients within the Venus serum, such as the burdock root I was talking about. Let's see. I have so many products now.
Yeah, no, I don't want to put you on the spot. I just,
No.
I got to thinking about,
It's
wow,
okay.
I wonder if, at Capital Integrative Health, I know sometimes we see people who have these, they're coming to us, and I know we have a nutrition team and, of course, medical providers here and wellness providers to offer them support on these conditions. But I'm thinking about, this would be a nice adjunct if we knew,
Absolutely.
if there's something.
Absolutely.
To use
Yeah.
topically.
So I would like to be able to have a straightforward answer for that question. I haven't quite defined those individual products yet within my line, so I don't want to
It's okay. What we'll do is we will make sure we have your contact information.
Okay.
If any of our listeners has a specific question for you, we can have
That
them
would
reach
be
out
great.
to you at Fruits to the Roots, and we'll give the information.
That would be really great, because I don't want to BS somebody. And
Yeah.
if right now I can't tell you the exact ingredient and which product it is, I don't want to tell you.
We appreciate that integrity you have. What I'm super curious about, and I don't know our audience, you touched on it earlier, but if you would help us learn or understand or explain how you formulate and make your products in relation to the moon cycle.
Mm-hmm. So I work with the planetary sort of bodies as a whole. Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. And yeah, it comes from my alchemical training. We sort of have this system of understanding a person's constitution based on the planetary bodies. And it sounds, and it has some overlap with astrology.
I was just going to ask, does it have to do with their birth date, time,
it does have
place, and all of
it
that?
It does, yeah. In fact, you just said it, like their birthplace, time, and where they were born. Wait, place, time, and date.
Right. Okay.
So the idea is that in that training, we are taught that, and I feel so strongly about this part of my training because it feels more connected than a lot of other sort of pathways that are in the planetary. Like astrology, I know hardly anything, but this, I know some stuff.
Let's hear it.
The idea is that when we are born, the heavens above lay an imprint on us, and we lay an imprint on it. And that depending on where you are in the world, the time, the day, the various planets above us are always going to be shifting and changing. But at that time, on that day, in that place, for example, when I was born, I have Venus, Moon, and Saturn in my constitution as my primary guiding planetary features. We're connected to all of them, but sometimes things stick out a little bit more. And for me, Venus resides in my body. It helps me to understand my body. And what I mean by that is that there are certain plants in the world that are very connected to the energies of Venus. Things such as rose, things such as, what's another good one? I feel like burdock root is another really good one. Sort of funny in its sense. And my teachers would argue that that's probably more Mars.
I was wondering because I don't know anything about this. I know a little bit just from hanging out with cool people like you, but I think when I think of love, like that love energy, and what do we
But
typically?
burdock for me typically gives me that love, and Venus is also very nourishing, very nourishing, compassionate, and when you break open a burdock root, it's so soft and fibrous, and for the skin, it helps with the tissues. It helps with nourishing. So for me, if I was to work with burdock root, I would definitely work with Venus and try to pull in some of that energy.
Decide. Sorry, I was just getting excited here. So this is how you decide what to make under what moon? Is that help me understand?
Sort of, and well, no.
Okay.
No, but it resonates with what you asked because different times throughout the day also align with different planets. So you can say, like, on a full moon, I make our everlasting cream on the full moon. And the reason for that is that the moon is very tied to the emotions. It's very tied to the bodily fluids. It's very tied to mental sort of stimulation or relaxation. And for me, I feel like it's one of the easier sort of guiding planets that I say planets in quotes here. You can't see me, but I do. Planets that we can work with because it is so instinctual. We've grown up seeing the sun. We've grown up seeing the moon. If I was to say I made this everlasting cream every day or once a month on Saturn day in Saturn hour, what would that mean to you?
I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What the heck? I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
It sounds cool, but I don't know what that means.
Well, and I guess, again, it comes down to intention. My intention with that particular product, or when I decide to work in a certain phase of the moon or a different planet, is that it's helping to guide me a little bit more deeply into a process. It's helping to translate and transfer that energy to the wearer or the adorner or the user.
So it's more about you, not the product.
It's both.
Both. Okay.
It's both.
It's that transference of energy from you to the product.
So if you think about the way that a normal distillation system works, you have the plant body with whatever fluid. You have a tube or a vessel that runs upward, and then there's another tube that runs off of it. I'm trying to explain this simply.
Going back to chemistry class here.
Another tube that runs off of it and drops down so that when you're distilling, you are bringing something up in temperature and basically creating the words are escaping me at the moment. Imagine you're creating a cloud.
Okay.
Within this vessel. You're sort of then, that fluid is going to recondense and come over, and that is your final product. When I'm working with the moon, it feels very much like that. It feels like I'm the physical vessel, but the moon is shining down. It's part of the energy that's like helping fuel the process. It's helping guide the process. So it is the fire source. It is the Sometimes maybe it's the water source that I'm working with. And that is distilling upwards into an idea. The intention lives there. And as that intention builds, and I'm actually creating this product, it distills down, it condenses into this other thing, and then it becomes the product.
I see.
So there is sort of this integrated. It's not really about me. But I enjoy it. It's not really about
I
me.
can see that.
Yeah. It's about connecting to something greater, something bigger, and the moon is pretty easy to work with. And the full moon especially is pretty easy to work with. We see it every month. Lucky us.
Yeah, lucky us.
Yeah. And anyone listening that just heard that amazing description of distilling, I'm sorry I didn't articulate it all that well, but that's sort of the gist of it. I feel like it's a collaboration. No matter if I'm working with a plant or an energy, it's always a collaboration.
I love that about your stuff and you. It just feels so good.
Thank you. It does feel good. I'm like a little nervous talking about it just because it's hard to articulate sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's your passion. And so sometimes it's really tough to lasso that up into words.
Yeah, I'm also a feeler, and I can feel things so fully, but yes, the articulation component of it it's a lot harder.
Yeah. Let's ask a fun question.
I'm ready.
Jen, our marketing director, comes up with these fun things. So I can't take credit for
Thanks,
it.
Jen.
But, if you were stranded on a desert island, what skincare products would you hope to have with you?
Oh, geez. Okay. First answer that came to mind is is it endless? Is this an endless supply?
It's an endless supply.
Okay. My husband would be so ashamed of me right now because my first answer is I would take water, an endless supply of water.
Look at how smart you are and unexpected.
But he would be ashamed of me because he'd be like, "No, you can build the fire. You can create fresh water. You can do this." and I don't have those survival skills, so I would take water. And I say that because sure, we can clean ourselves with it, but really, hydration is the number one thing at any point in your life with your skincare. Hydration. And I say that I'm not always the best at it, but definitely water.
You are full of surprises. I love that answer. It's like, you should get this cream or that cream. I would have this cream. But how simple and real and perfect was that answer. I love that.
Yeah, I couldn't pick one even if you made me try. So
they're all so good. I know. Okay. How can our listeners learn more about you? Where can they find out more about Fruits to the Roots and find out about what you're doing in the world? How can they contact you? What do you have going on? Any special events? What should we know about Fruits to the Roots? And Lauren, what are you up to?
I'm so excited to answer this. I can be found at fruitstotheroots.com. That is fruits with an S. Fruitstotheroots.com, roots with an S. You can find me on social media. I'm not the biggest fan of the F book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a community on there. I think that's really the only time I'm looking at it, but I think the community is an important resource for people. So
yeah. Oh goodness. And yes.
But I know, but you don't have to be.
Okay.
Where else can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I am playing with a little bit of TikTok, but it's not. It's more to get me out of my comfort zone. I tend to turn into the witch in the woods, or
That's so fun.
I tend to like turn into this person that is just talking to plants and trees and walking in the grass and feeling the wind in my hair.
You want to see the real Lauren? Check her out. Check her out on TikTok.
So I definitely am going to start doing a little bit more of TikTok. But yeah, Instagram is great. My website is great. I am Frederick, Maryland is where I am. And I'm offering sound baths weekly in Frederick, Maryland at a wonderful community studio called Give Rise Studio. And right now, that's usually on Sundays at 4.
That's every Sunday at
Every
4?
Sunday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great to know.
I'm also working with Foxhaven in Jefferson, Maryland, which I've been working with them for a few years now. And so you can find me doing sound baths there. And we didn't even talk about the sound baths, but that's okay.
We can spend a couple of minutes talking about sound baths because I had the opportunity to join you for a sound bath at Foxhaven Farm in the barn. And yeah, you should share that work. That's really, really good stuff.
Well, and it's so what I realized was missing sort of from my online presence as far as our business went is that I don't think beauty is just about one thing. I don't want to be just a product manufacturer for people. So I've actually spent the last year and a half reworking our website. And by the time you're hearing this, it will be launched, which is really exciting. Still same website, but brand new sort of look and feel and flow. I realized that people want to know more. They want to feel like they can explore more.
Maybe like we do here at Capital Integrative Health. The
Yeah,
deep dive into
exactly,
things. Yeah?
exactly, and that's yes, going deeper into anything that you're excited about, especially. I feel like with skincare, if you're putting it on your skin every day, you should really know more than. And I feel like I give a lot on our website, but there was that component. I needed to sort of. It was time. We've been doing this. We've had the same website for 10 years, so it was time. So in that sort of organization of the website, I realized there's a ritual component to what I do that I can't really translate in so many words easily, as we've talked about. And I've been offering sound baths for the last about 3 years. Basically, since COVID started, I started offering them through Zoom for people.
Can you share with our audience briefly what a sound bath is?
Yeah. So a sound bath is a form of meditation using instruments, specifically vibrational instruments. What makes it very different than like going and sort of absorbing live music of sorts is that it is mindful, intentional. Meditation isn't for everyone. And I think that what's really strange about sound bathing is it can be for everyone. Anyone I've played for, no matter how skeptical, they have almost immediately fallen into this really calm space. And what it is I work a lot with crystal bowls and Himalayan bowls. I'm starting to do some drumming work as well, which I'm really excited about. My husband and I built a drum this year. Yeah, so it's so beautiful. So we're working on getting some other sounds going, but what makes it so easy and intuitive is that it's self-guided for the most part. You just have to be present with yourself, willing to be open to the sound, to the vibration. And as the vibration fills the space that you're in, it can sort of shift your mental state into it works with your brain waves to put you into a calmer state, a more relaxed state. It helps with sleep. It can help with even getting into higher states of relaxation where cellular regeneration is more easily possible. And so I started, is that good?
That's great.
Okay.
No, that's great. I was going to ask like how they're typically an hour.
So
or...
mine, I have a hard time doing more than an hour, partially because I'm seeing that people do start to get a little antsy. The commitment to doing a sound bath longer than that, I think a lot of people, I want it to be accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some sound baths out there, though, that'll go for like 3 to 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And those, I mean, you can really get into some wild states where you are just, but even in an hour long, I've talked to people that have had experiences where they've had ancestors like visit them and, you know, pass along a message. And I've had people that have, my husband had brain surgery. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. My husband had brain surgery in December last year, and we didn't really make it public knowledge. He'll be fine with this. We didn't make it public knowledge at the time because it feels like there's a lot of sympathy cards played when things like that happens, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted to go through this on our own, and it was hard. It was really hard. Didn't want it to be public. But the thing that came out of that was realizing how important the sound bathing was for us personally, and that I needed to start finding places in person that I could do it regularly for people.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of healing that he and I were both individually able to do, but also inspire in I don't know, in a greater sense, with his process, it was pretty profound in a lot of ways.
Is that to say that this was part of his healing journey after post-surgery?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it still is part of his healing at the moment.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Lauren. That's so good.
So, yeah, we're really excited to be offering this because it feels like a component of the ritual element with healing and skincare. It sort of ties everything together. So now we have our beauty, we have our alchemy, we have our ritual, and we have a bit of sciencey stuff coming too.
Taking it to the next level.
Yes. And it's been sort of hard to identify what that next level would be until all of a sudden the sound bathing became so important. So
we are super excited and honored to have you join us for our next Heal Day here at Capital Integrative Health quarterly. We have a retreat for our entire team. It's called our Health Education and Learning Day, Heal Day, and you are going to be joining us for the sound bath. So I'm super excited, and thank you so much for agreeing to do that with us.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for you to share your gifts with our team.
Me too.
So fruitstotheroots.com. What were the places where you're doing the sound baths again?
At Give Rise Studio in Frederick, Maryland, at Fox Haven Farm in Jefferson, Maryland. Those are the places I'm going to be working regularly with. Okay. I'm also trying to identify a more DC area space. But. Okay.
And then lastly, just in case, because I know if I were listening to this, I would want to know, am I going to be able to talk to her, about skincare? Do you have a chat on your website? Or
I do.
How do you? Okay.
So I do have a chat, and you will chat with me. There are a few automated answers if I'm not available. Like right now, I wouldn't be available. There are a few automated answers, but you will get me. Okay. It is literally just me and my husband running this business. It's interesting because at different points it's felt bigger than that, but you will always talk to me. You can email, or there's a contact form on our page, and that also goes, there's a contact form on our webpage that will also go directly to my email address. So I will always reply to you.
Okay.
And if someone wants to work with me, that is probably the easiest place to reach me. I would say reach out on social media, say hi, introduce yourself too, but let's talk through email first, and then we'll get going from there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lauren. We love having small business, beautiful, heart-centered, mindful people doing great work in health and beauty. This is our first dipping our toe into the beauty part of it, so we're honored to have you for that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
It's been really fun.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to leave us a review. It helps our podcast to reach more listeners. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episodes and conversations. And thank you so much again for being with us.